Welcome to Sound of Resistance YouTube channel. The Ukrainian army started today with a new victory. The Ukrainian forces, accustomed to constantly hitting Russia, are now getting stronger. In desperation, Putin is trying to find new tactic. Having been defeated on many fronts such as Kherson and Kiev, Putin is very close to giving up. Unable to defeat Ukraine alone, the Russian army sought support, but it didn't work either. Getting up from Iran and Belarus, Putin still couldn't beat Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin has nothing left to do against the powerful Ukrainian army. While Putin is fighting the Ukrainian forces on the other hand, he is having an argument with the anti-war Russian partisans on the other. The constant failure of Putin in the invasion he launched against Ukraine 9 months ago made the Russian people very angry. The Russian people's faith and trust in Putin is gone. There are reports that some anti-war partisans started fires in many areas. Some Russian generals have expressed their opinion that Putin should quit. All Russians agree that Putin has now crossed the line of failure. Putin recently carried out a helicopter attack against Ukraine. He suffered many casualties as a result of this attack. Now, in the rest of our news, we will give you detailed information about this subject, reminding that Russia had to shamefully withdraw from Kherson, the only regional capital it could occupy 9 months. WSJ reports that Moscow has shifted its best troops to other regions in the south of Ukraine. While some 20,000 soldiers were sent to the other fronts, they were replaced by recruits who were called up in a partial mobilization and given a few weeks of training. Putin was knocked out. Ukrainian army shot down 76 Russian helicopters. Putin, who cannot use the military ammunition he has is about to lose his army. In a statement made by National Guard's Air Defense Unit of Ukraine, it was stated that the incident occurred in the Zaporizhia region on November 24, and that the K-52 Crocodile helicopters, known as the reconnaissance and attack helicopters of the Russian army, targeted the Ukrainian forces in the region. It was stated that K-52 helicopters are one of the newest units of the Russian army equipped with an anti-tank missile system and laser-guided cannons. According to the data given at the daily briefing meeting of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, a Russian Su-25 fighter jet and 70 Mi-8 model helicopters were shot down. According to the defense minister's claim, the Ukrainian Air Force shot down Su-25 fighter jet in Kramatorsk region of Donbass. Russia claims to have shot down 260 Russian warplanes since the beginning of the war that started on February 24th. The Mi-8 model helicopter was shot down by Ukrainian air defense systems in Promovoyske in the Nikolaev region. In addition, a total of 4 Russian UAVs were shot down in Topolskoye, Demantievka, Peskanoye, Yanakievo, and Makeva. It is claimed that 144 helicopters and 1,577 UAVs belonging to Russia have been shot down since the beginning of the war. While Russia's attacks on Ukraine continue, the Azov Battalion of the Ukrainian National Guard continues its resistance at many points. In Ukraine's Russian-occupied Zaporizhia region, Azov Battalion shot down a low-flying Russian Air Force Mi-35 M-type helicopter with a portable air defense system. In the images shared by Maxim Zhorin, one of the former commanders of the Azov Battalion, of the moments when the Russian helicopter was hit, it was seen that the helicopter hit by the missile turned into a fireball and crashed to the ground. Information about the fate of the Russian personnel on the helicopter has not been shared yet. The Russian Air Force is losing attack helicopters at a rate that alarms Russian commanders on cruise, and it is clear why. Russian Kamov Ka-52 gunships must climb and hover to use their precision-guided missiles, making them visible and vulnerable to Ukrainian missiles from miles away. Russian attack helicopters were particularly worn out, possibly from Ukraine's main portable air defense systems, the UK's Ministry of Defense said. The Russian Air Force began the wider war in Ukraine in February with about 100 twin-rotor, two-crew Ka-52s. The service has cancelled at least 23 Kamov helicopters that outside analysts can confirm, including at least 2 and potentially many more this month. The most recent confirmed loss occurred on Monday. A video circulating online shows a Ukrainian team firing a shoulder-fired, heat-seeking missile at a Ka-52 and reportedly destroying it. With this death, the Kremlin's Ka-52 inventory decreased by a quarter. To be fair, the Russian Air Force uses hundreds of combat helicopters, including classic Mi-24s and newer Mi-28s. But aside from a few of the latest Mi-28s, the Ka-52s are the only Russian attack helicopters compatible with the Air Force's top-guided anti-tank missile, the 90-pound Vir. And the Vir, for its part, is one of the few reliable precision weapons in the Air Force's inventory. For this reason, Russian commanders sent Ka-52s into battle, especially Virs, to fire Ukrainian tanks and combat vehicles. But effectively, using the missile is an unhappy experience for Ka-52 crew. The missile is a beam driver. A gunship crew hovers several hundred feet above the ground, fires a laser beam at a target 6 miles away, then fires the missile that follows the laser back to the target. The problem is that the shooting helicopter cannot move until the missile hits it, and this can take tens of seconds. But if there's a Ukrainian air defense nearby, the helicopter will be shut down a lot during the waiting period. The UK Ministry of Defense also attributed the excessive Ka-52 losses to the Russian fighters' lack of overhead protection, but it's not clear that exposing a gunship to the same air defenses that threaten helicopters will result in fewer shots overall. No, it's the technology and the tactics it dictates that make the Ka-52 so vulnerable. It is not in vain that US Army mostly uses Hellfire anti-tank missiles with a fire-and-forget mode. The crew locates a target on the radar, fires the missile and immediately dives and flies away to avoid return fire. Likewise, the risk of gunships crews face over Ukraine explains why Ukrainian crews in particular have adopted an extreme tactic. They fly really low. As it stands only 10 or 15 feet above the ground, it angles only briefly to launch unguided rockets towards their targets in long, ballistic arcs. Gunship crews face extreme risk and shockingly short life expectancy as long as the Russian Air Force in Ukraine prefers the precise application of the Vir missile over the survival of the missile-firing Ka-52s. Kyiv military officials said Russia has lost 2 attack helicopters in 3 minutes on Monday after being hit in rapid succession by Ukraine's air defenses. Ka-52 Crocodile attack helicopters were shot down near the town of Berislav in Kherson province on the banks of the Dnieper River, where Russian forces were preparing for an expected Ukrainian offensive. 2 Russian Ka-52 attack helicopters were shot down by the unit of the Odessa Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade of the Southern Air Command, the Ukrainian Air Force said in a statement. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, 1 helicopter was shot down at 6:45 and the other at 6:48. A small 2-seat attack helicopter known for its distinctive twin rotors, the Ka-52 has been a mainstay of Russia's occupation force since the beginning of the war. Ukrainian defenders shot down a Russian Ka-52 attack helicopter in the Kherson region this evening, the third since the start of the day. According to the news of the Ukrainian media, this is the statement made by the Ukrainian Air Force Command. In the report on November 24th, at around 9:30, a unit of the Southern Air Command's Kherson Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade shot down by the 3rd Russian Ka-52 helicopter in one day in the Berislav district of the Kherson region. The Ukrainian Air Force Command did not rule out that the helicopter could have engines produced by a Ukrainian manufacturer. The plan of the Russian army, which planned to attack different parts of Ukraine at the same time, turned out badly. The Russian Air Force wanted to defeat Ukraine by attacking with a large number of helicopters, but the response of the Ukrainian Air Defense Center to this attack shocked the Russian army. Since Putin's helicopters could not show the desired effect, it was almost impossible to continue this occupation. One of the issues to be discussed at the meeting, which will be held by the Russian Ministry of Defense at night, may be the withdrawal plan. Thanks for watching us.